So, I'm on what they call a TRISHAW. I guess it's like the rickshaw, except it's a tricycle. So, and this is how we're going to be carted around Georgetown, Penang, which is basically the old town. It is named apparently for King George of England, the Third, 1780s type of thing. So basically, while he was trying to hang on to us and the colonies in America, he was also founding the area here, or at least having the place named after him. So, definitely had his hands full. No wonder we got away. It's a bit of a traffic jam getting out, but once we get started, everything's kind of cool. Complete with the fact that, we've got a bit of a breeze while we're riding. Admittedly, once the bus gets away, we start to get a little worried because, this isn't exactly the safest. If we're in an argument with a car, we're going to lose. But at least we've got this sort of slower lane to get into. Our guide tells us these trishaws were once set up opposite the way they are now. It used to be with the captain behind me in front and the rider, myself, in the back. Either way, I'd be sitting on the two wheels and he'd be on the one like he was just bicycling. I guess at some point in time, the certain guests complained about the aroma of all things. I suppose you could draw your own conclusions from that. I guess tourists can be a little bit harsh, no matter when and where they're from. The open air feel to this allows us to get a look at everything a little better than we can from the coaches that we always ride in everywhere else. Many of the buildings here in Georgetown are still in use from when they were built back in the 1700s. I'm just as glad this is being driven by professionals. It's having to deal with the actual vehicular traffic would be rather intimidating for those of us who aren't accustomed to it. Penang seems to pride itself on its religious tolerance. We're just passing by the first Catholic church in Malaysia. And I did see something about it being the diocesan museum these days. Don't know if it's being used for services anymore. Even with two cameras, it's kind of hard to keep up with the sights, as my captain keeps pointing out things as we go along. Rules of the road are kind of suggestions around here. I give my captain full marks for bravery around here. Although I suppose it helps to be in part of a group like this. Well, we're at our first stop, the Eastern and Oriental Hotel, or at least outside of that. Not sure where we're going. It's kind of hard to film or even take pictures when it's being explained to you. But I think I'll try and regurgitate what our guide was saying. The Eastern and Oriental Hotel is the oldest one here in Penang, and it's the only one with an oceanfront view. And it was built along with the Raffles Hotel in Singapore and another one in Myanmar by a pair of brothers who came over from Armenia, of all places. Ours, wouldn't you be proud? They no longer own the places, of course, being long passed on since these things are more than a century old, but still, they are known as the Armenian brothers to the locals here. She was also talking about how right by the E&O Hotel were a pair of Anglican schools. One for boys, one for girls, and at the same time, the Catholic schools over here. You can see St. Xavier's, and all this at a time when back home in Blighty, Roman Catholics and Anglicans could not be anywhere near each other because, well, to be Catholic was basically treachery against the King of England, who was the head of the Anglican Church. So, but here, multiculturalism, multi-faithism, if that's a word, could flourish. They also, of course, have the Asian religions here too, both in the form of Islam and Chinese temple, which I believe is Buddhist, and also Hindu. So they've been able to get along for centuries now. Would that the rest of the world could take a page from that. My captain tells me that the trees behind me, Penang palms, are where Penang gets its name. Leave it to the British to mispronounce everything and then use it to name the place. Our guide talks about the banners hanging at the town hall and the fact that there's a city hall even behind that as Penang grew. The banners celebrate the 50th anniversary. The banners celebrate the 50th anniversary of the sister city set up between Georgetown and Adelaide. It turns out that the Englishman who founded Georgetown had 5 children with a local, a Eurasian woman, and one of those boys went on down to Australia and founded Adelaide. So while there's a sister city relationship officially, there's also a sort of parent and child relationship between Georgetown and Adelaide. I'm afraid that by riding in this thing, I'm going to have to actually get exercise when I get back to the ship. But I have to admit, I prefer being in here than having to walk through this humid place. Still, it's nice that it's sunny and bright outside rather than the clouds and rain and, honestly, thunderstorms they were predicting earlier. So I consider myself twice lucky here. Now, my captain is telling me that this is known as the Street of Harmony because every 100 meters or so, there's another place of worship, be it an Anglican church, a Buddhist temple. We'll be coming up to a mosque here shortly, and I guess there's 2 of them, one Malay and one Indian, and then of course an Indian Hindu temple. And meanwhile, of course, there are those who worship the almighty ringgit as well. Over here is a Tao temple, which surprises me because I never thought of Taoism as having places of worship, per se. And here we are presumably coming into a Muslim quarter. I recognize the crescent and star, and I guess they're celebrating Eid al-Fitr at this point. Clever little firecracker pillar there that we're passing. I don't know if it's just a decoration or if it actually works as a pillar with that kind of setup. And now, after all that bicycling on the back alleys by Chinatown, we're turning onto a main road. And it's still weird, even though we're being given a little bit of a berth by the motorized traffic, they do get awfully close at times. Well, we've come to the end of our little journey here. We have to say goodbye to our captains.